All right, so here we are for part two. And on this one, we're working on the windows. And the windows have the window frames and then these little plastic sheets of window. They go inside that, and then that gets sandwiched up against the wall. Pretty simple, but always make sure you take that clear film off. I mean, you can leave it on, it'll give a little bit of a frosted-ish look, but it looks terrible. Like, don't forget to take the plastic off. I usually forget to take the plastic off. And it'll look much better, much clearer. And also, do as I say, not as I do. I put too much glue. No, when doing this, the best bet is to take a small brush or like a silicone spatula and spread the glue out on the piece and get rid of the excess as much as you can, so that it doesn't squish out when you push it down and then end up all over your glass. But obviously, I don't take my own advice. It depends. Some days I'm better, but because I haven't been working on miniature kits as much lately, I'm really bad about being heavy-handed with glue, which always leads to some kind of mess. I mean, at least it dries nice and clear, so it's not that noticeable. And actually, if you wanted to, you could put more glue and let it dry and give it more of a glass texture, like old leaded glass. You know how it like has that like kind of ripply effect to it. So I mean, there's options, but I just put too much glue. Here we go again. Load it up. But yeah. Make sure and take note of which side of the wall you're putting this on, because these go on the side without the texture, which ends up being the inside. Yes. It ends up being the inside. Okay, so I bought those, the first pair of scissors I picked up and put back down. Those are some Tim Holtz lefty scissors. Lefty scissors? Yes. And I really like them, but I have been cutting left-handed with right-handed scissors for so long that there's just no chance. I think I've mentioned this before in a video, but I got the left-handed. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be so great. I get to use like the proper scissors, because my hands cramp when I use scissors a lot because I'm going the opposite way they're intended, and it causes your hands to cramp sometimes. So I was very excited to get those, and I can't use them. I've been using scissors wrong so long that I can't use them right. So they're so useful for some things, but I can't really like cut in a straight line with them for some reason. I don't know. They're really nice though. So like if you're a lefty and you're used to using lefty scissors, those are great. Like they have a little like micro serration on them, so it like bites into stuff and doesn't like wander when you're cutting and stuff. So they're really good scissors, but I'm just old dog, new tricks. I don't know. I can't do it. Couldn't get it to work for me. I still, like I said, I still use them for random things, but not, yeah. So all of this makes up the downstairs, like bottom floor. And I did a lot of wrestling to get everything lined up the way it needed to be before I got everything glued in place. I like to dry fit everything a lot to make sure that it's actually going to stay. But, you know, it worked. And then there's that little apothecary unit that we did. This comes in here as a wall. I really like this design. I think it's really cute. It's a very simple but effective little setup. I really like it. So here's where we start to get into some of the more difficult things. This is the ceiling for that, which is also the floor for the second story, of course. This is where we start getting into lights. This is a piece of paper that goes over it. It's the ceiling cover or whatever. And I did have one difficulty that hopefully you don't have. My light strand that goes on here is one bulb short. What I did is I went ahead and put it all together, and then I'm just going to go dig out an extra bulb off of a set of fairy lights or something and put on there, add it to it later on, which I'll actually share with you, but hopefully your kit comes with all of the lights that go with it. I was a little bummed. I even checked it a few times to make sure. I'm like, maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. It's like, no, there's 3 pieces of lights, and one of them has 1, one of them has like 3, and the other one is supposed to have like, I don't know, like 8 or 9. I don't know. All I know is I was 1 short, so very frustrating. So you put that piece over and mark where these little holes are, because this is where you're going to line up 2 lights so that they line up and show through the holes in the ceiling. And this stuff is really squirrely and flies all over the place. So take your time. So here I am counting over and over again. I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4. No, that's short. That's definitely 1 short. So frustrating. But it's okay. And then I was trying to figure out how to add one to the end, because the end light is like cut right at the bottom. So yeah, I sat here in confusion for a few minutes, because that was my standard response was, wait, what? Ah! But once I got done panicking, I grabbed my masking tape. Now, there are stickers that come with the kit that you can use. But I just grabbed masking tape because it's just a habit. And once I got the masking tape out, I started lining these up. And like I said, you want to make sure there's a diagram in the instructions that shows you exactly where they need to go. But you need to make sure that you have 2 lights that line up with those holes. And then as far as the excess wire goes, you just kind of fold it and move it around to whatever way gets it out of the way, if that makes sense. And then try to make everything as flat as you can, because you're going to be putting a piece of paper over this that is going to be the ceiling for the bottom floor. So just like I said, just line it up, take your time, and it'll come together pretty easily. It's not that difficult. I kept looking at the diagram and not being able to replicate it for some reason. I kept like superimposing and wanting to bend them the other way, which made the lights not line up. So I had to like take a breath. But I was also having a conversation with somebody while I was doing this, so I was a little distracted. and that's always bad. So, well, distractions are good sometimes, but yeah. It really sucks when you get distracted and mess up something like that on a kit like this, because all the steps are like really hard to go back and fix at the very end, you know. And then I kept trying to figure out a way to circumvent the fact that I was missing a whole bulb, but I didn't come up with anything other than just tacking another one onto the end when I get done. So yeah, it'll be fine. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. You'll see. It's great. I figure it out. But there's everything taped down, and then this piece of paper just goes over it. The one that's sticking out at the end there goes to the sign. There's a little sign that says magic at the end that you'll see. And so you want that one sticking out a little bit far so that you're able to get it into the sign just fine. And it's got some room. And then all these goodies go through here. And then I feel like maybe, oh, I think that was right. Let me second guess myself on my voiceover because I wasn't paying attention, because I was distracted when I was putting it together originally. Yeah, typical. But yes. It comes together really easily. So for some of these I end up using my runner tape, like the little double-sided tape thing. But for this I used tacky glue, and lots of it, because it's kind of on the inside, so if it gets a little warped up or whatever, you're not really, it's like not super visible or noticeable. So I just went for it. And then just make sure when you glue this on that the lights stick through those little holes. And yeah, it's not going to lay completely flat. You're going to have some texture to it because of the wires underneath. But yeah, there you have it. Okay, so remember that light that hangs out the end? It goes through this hole right here on the side. And like I said, that's for the sign. So you just stick it through there and then glue everything into place. And then I did discover that hung over just a little bit after I lined it up with everything. So I just gave it a little bit of a trim with my scissors so that it wouldn't get in the way of gluing everything in place. Nothing too crazy, just a little haircut. And then I fumbled a whole bunch because I was still without my thumb. It really sucked. Like, I can't tell you the discomfort that I was experiencing. But I got through it. We made it. I'm all healed now. It looks better. Can't even tell I cut myself because it was really thin. So, yes, much better now. Anyway, once you do that, this all just kind of lines up. And then you glue it. This is why I always dry fit everything, because then I knew that I had to cut that piece off, and so made sure to get the wire through for the sign, and yeah, it all worked out. Now for this window, I actually glued it on what would be the wrong side of the wall, but because I wanted to. This is the window for the second floor. And it goes, like there's a desk that sits right in front of it when you get done. But instead of putting the frame on the outside, I put the frame on the inside, just because that's what I wanted to do. Here we go again, too much glue. And I was like trying to find something to mop some of it up with. And I should have like wet that and it probably would have done a better job. You know, just a damp sponge would have did it better. Yeah. Whoops. But we got there. I also didn't wait for it to dry to start cutting, which I would not recommend because it slides around on the glue and then you end up with a crooked window. Mine was fine, but I had to keep adjusting it and really pay attention to what was going on, which also meant I smudged up the plastic / glass really bad. But yeah, see, it's supposed to be on the other side, but it's all good. I really like it where I put it. And then these are the two walls that make up the next floor. The outside walls. And you know, I really am dangerous with glue. I really am. And then these two pieces just go sandwiched together and then glued onto the end. So you got this little like broken brick detail, which is kind of neat. And just make sure that the brick detail is pointed outward on each one of these. And like I said, it just gets glued to the end of the wall there. All right, and so now we're ready to do the next layer, which takes us to the ceiling of the second floor and floor of the third floor. And of course we have lights again. Woohoo, lights. If I had this to do over again, I would have done it a little bit different because like I said, I'm missing a light, so yikes. But you have one light that's going to basically stay inside this room and just kind of hang out. And then the rest of the strand of lights gets threaded up through the hole. And it's just the thing. And this is nice because it actually has little cutouts, so you can actually line everything up where it needs to go pretty easily. Oh yeah, the cutouts are in the wood instead of the paper, because on the last floor we just had circles in the paper, or circles that we drew on the wood and then holes in the paper, and so like thickness wise it was kind of goofy, but this is a little bit better. So the lights are like the perfect size to like press into place and have sit just inside those little holes. And then I tried to make sure that my wire was laying as flat as possible because, like I said, you have to put a piece of paper over this, so the flatter the better. And then you just kind of run your excess off to the side, loop it out of the way so that it all works. I always have a lot of people like ask me about the lights, and so I'm trying not to speed up the light process. I'm actually letting it play out so that you can see like exactly what I'm doing. And it's a little bit easier because some of these kits, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's, you know, if you've made a whole bunch of them, it's no big deal. But when you're first getting used to doing these, sometimes it's a little confusing. Like I said, I make mistakes sometimes too, so I always like go back and double check and make sure everything is where it's supposed to be before finalizing things. And let me just remind everybody one more time, this one was missing a bulb. It wasn't the end of the world, but boy, it sure felt like it. Everything works out though. And then that's what you're supposed to be finished with. I have to fiddle with it a lot and make sure that everything's where it goes. And then it's going to come back around, and then that little hole there to the left of my thumb is where the wire is going to go up to go out of the top. So that light right there is the light that gives light to the... You're actually going to have two lights in this room because there's one bulb down here that won't feed up that high, so it can't be the ceiling light. And then there's this one. I followed the instructions here, but like I said, I was missing a bulb, so if I had to do it all over again, I would have just fed this up a little further, so that there would have been one less light here, which would have given me one more light up top, but I didn't. So yeah, learn from my mistakes if you're short a bulb. But if it's all there, then it works just fine. So my apologies. I'll apologize ahead of time because I'm going to be complaining a lot about that missing bulb. It really threw me off. I make these kits, I like them to be like they're supposed to be. One little bead missing or something can like be a day ruiner for me because this is my Zen, and if my Zen is interfered with, no, it's not that serious, but sometimes it feels like it. I'm like, stop, walk away, take a breath, go take a walk around the block or something just to decompress after I've freaked out. But anyway, let's be more realistic. I walked to the fridge. No. But yeah, so once you get all that done, this just goes up here. I ended up like really struggling to get this thing to stand up on its own once I got to this point because it does make it a little bit top heavy. So keep that in mind so you don't like drop everything repeatedly like I kind of did. But it does work and everything does line up like it's supposed to at that point. For this layer, I ended up using the runner tape instead of using tacky glue. And then I didn't know what to do with that wire because I didn't know if that wire was supposed to go through the paper or not. So I just ripped that little piece of paper right there so that the wire could feed either way. Because it was too late. It doesn't show to run the wire through there, so I didn't. And then it was just sandwiched in a weird place, so I just ripped the wire, or ripped the paper, so it was fine. Yeah, this bulb that I'm struggling with at the moment comes like through and hangs down into this room as well, as the other one does. But this one actually comes down a little further because there's a metal piece that goes around it like a fixture. So you want it to stick out a little bit. Like so. What I did is just like at the length of the bulb, I bent it so that it sticks out the length of the bulb. And then taped everything in place. And then went ahead and got out the runner tape and did the rest of it. So I popped these next two pieces out, and when I did, they broke. Yeah, it's really common with these little thin pieces. I've mentioned this before as well. But a little bit of glue and everything glued back together just fine. And these two pieces make up the magic sign that goes on the bottom floor with that goofy little light that's hanging on the outside. So I took the first half and I just kind of put it there to see. I didn't know if I could slide the bulb inside without, like after gluing these two together whether it would fit through the hole, and I will tell you with certainty that yes, it does fit through the hole. So you can glue the sign together and then stick the light in there. It will work. The instructions say to do it this way, but you can do it the other way. I was so worried it wasn't gonna fit, so I'm like trying to do all this and it was a bit much, and then it like, yeah, but no, it does fit through the hole. It's fine. So those two layers get glued together, and then once those are glued together, you just glue it to the side, and it finishes the light and looks really cute. See? I slid it right off the bulb. So I know for a fact that it does work. All right. Yeah, and I went with a tacky glue because it's a little bit thicker and it tacks up faster, and it will hold it in place so that I don't have to sit there and hold it by hand. The thinner glue is great for some things, and the thicker glue is great for others. You can just stick with one glue throughout the whole project for the most part, but if you're me, you've got to experiment and try all the different glues. So you go to cheap places like Walmart and the dollar store, and you find all the different types of glue to give them a try and see what works and what doesn't. I also go on Amazon a lot. I'm like, ooh, that one looks good, and go through all the reviews and stuff. So yeah, I'm kind of a glue hoarder. It's not healthy. But yeah, and there we go. Anyway, that's it for this video, and I'll have another one out in a little bit with some more of this Magic House build. And thank you for watching. I will see you next time.